and welcome to the study. Whether you're in the Northern Hemisphere or the Southern Hemisphere, at the moment we're in a change of seasons, spring or autumn. It's always an exciting time, but it's also a time of transition. There's a lot of activity to finish what passed and prepare for what's coming. The weather is in transition, and the daylight. In the Northern Hemisphere, we might have a sunny day one day and odd snow flurries the next. In the Southern Hemisphere, the light will be getting less and less, preparing for the dark winter ahead. Relaxing is as important as intellectual stimulation. To combat stress, fatigue, and just feeling down. I know that there are a lot of videos out there, ASMR videos, relaxation videos, and you can take your pick depending on what you feel like if you want to watch a video to help you relax. Thank you for watching mine today. I would like to thank everyone who has clicked and is going to watch us relax with a nice game of Piquet cards today, and particularly those of you who have subscribed to my channel. If you have not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. Today, we're going to spend some nice, relaxing time in the study, playing some cards, and learning a little bit of history about the royal and delightful game of Piquet. And if at the end you did enjoy this video, do please like and consider subscribing. Going to start today with an article from the New York Times, published October 8th, 1871. It's a bit stained because I was playing around with my paints. It says, the game of Piquet. It was at Bourges, in the Château de Berry, that the game of Piquet, which is especially the game of French cards, was invented, as tradition tells us, by the brave La Hire as a pastime for Charles VII. Now, La Hire, or Etienne Vignol, as his other name was minor nobility from Gascony, and he supported Charles VII in the siege of Crecy in 1419, and in 1429 he was among the support for Jeanne d'Arc in the siege of Orléans. So apart from being a Gascon nobility, soldier, chevalier, he is also here credited with the invention of the card game of Piquet. The Italian tarot had long been known, tarot being a game in Italian tarocchino, and there are variations of it throughout Europe, hence the French name for deck of cards, tarot. This new game was for the King of Bourges, as he was called, when he so carelessly withdrew there with his court and favourites, leaving half of his kingdom in the hands of the English. Now this is a reference to Charles VII, when he was still Dauphin, and shortly thereafter. As Dauphin, despite having been very brave and distinguishing himself in battle, by 1421 he had withdrawn to occupy castles such as Chinon and Bourges, leaving everything north of the Loire to Henry V of England. Now this is the same Charles VII who famously was there with Jeanne d'Arc, or Jeanne d'Arc was there when he was crowned, and who in 1456 pardoned François Villon, or as one account has it, the Comte de Montcorbier. As for the inventor Etienne Vignol, surnamed La Hire, he had ever his helmet on his head and his lance in his hand, ready to do battle with his master's foes, and after a life spent in the field, he died of his wounds in 1442. The examination of these cards leads us to the conjecture that the author would depict the institution of chivalry. Some of the names retain the Saracenic terms, such as Apollon, who appears in the romances of Charlemagne, and here he's referring to the epics, the chansons de geste of the king, le roi, as the idol by which the Moors who were accustomed to swear. In the chansons de geste there are numerous gods that are depicted as Saracen gods, just out of fantasy or fantasticness, because in reality the Saracens or the Muslims worship one god. But these tales were fantastical, and Apollon was one of their gods, the name being drawn from the Greek myths, but bearing no other resemblance. Corsuba, a knight of Cordoba, whose name made many a Christian hero turn pale, and may have been a corruption of Corsos, the general name for the kings of Persia. No doubt the companions of this indolent and voluptuous prince attached a personal sense to each character. Apollon must be Charles himself. The queen, called Faith is Lost, represented his wife, or Agnès Sorey. Sans Souci was some resemblance to the goldsmith Jacques Coeur, who was almost his master's equal in power and his superior in richness. pour Suba would denote the King of England, the usurper of France, Roland, some of the brave captains, Richemont, Dunois, or Larrière, the Queen, tromperie, which it is no surprise means deceit. The Dowager Queen Isabel, who had sacrificed her husband, son, and family to England, and finally, in the I trust, the name of one of the queens alluded to Jeanne d'Arc. In some cases, the armorial bearings are adopted belonging to these persons and their colours. It was in this reign that devices, colours, and emblems were especially brought into fiction, and the celebrated book, the Blason de Couleur, was drawn up by the herald of King Alfonso of Aragon, giving to each colour a special meaning, such as green, joy, black, simplicity, etc. Everything at this period was turned into an allegory, an emblem, or a moral. And there we have an article from the New York Times that might have been read over breakfast. And so now we turn to a little book called The Royal and Delightful Game of Piquet, written in French and now rendered into English out of the last French edition. London, printed for J. Martin and J. Ridley, and are to be sold at the castle in Fleet Street, near Ramsgate Alley, 1651. That might be Ram Alley. This would have been a small little pocket book. I've seen one in a library. Here I've made a little facsimile of my own. They're readily available in digital format from several libraries, including the British Library. The Stationer to the Readers. Here my coming to my hands not long since a small treatise concerning the game of Piquet, and having pursued the same, I have since thought fit to communicate it to the world as being a game approved of everywhere, especially among all the gentry and persons of honour. It is a kind diversion, so sweet and pleasing as that it makes the hours slide away insensibly. It easeth the gouty person, clears up the melancholic spirit, and refresheth the pensive lover. These considerations are sufficient force to raise up in any one a desire to play. But that which should most stir you up to the purchasing of this book is that you have here laid down before you an absolute and exact account of the whole game, and have all the difficulties that may arise therein fully resolved. If you therefore but observe the rules and maxims here delivered, you shall avoid all the quarrels which usually arise amongst gamesters for want of being thoroughly informed in the game, and shall preserve mutual society, which is the bond that unites all things. Be sure, therefore, that you purchase this book, for in so doing you shall not only much advantage yourselves, but me also, who am your most humble and most affectionate servant, J.C.B. M.D.L.M. And what follows to deal, how to score different problems or questions that might occur. And at the very end, just in case some difficulties do occur, the author warns us that whoever is found changing or taking back again any of his cards, besides that he is from thenceforth to be noted for a cheating foul player, he shall also lose his game, and shall not reckon anything that he hath, and the other ought to refuse him as a cheat, and play no more with him. And there is the end of the little treatise on the royal and delightful game of Piquet. Let's play. This is a little scorecard I've made up. And if you've played Piquet with me before, you're sure to enjoy this game. I will explain the rules a little as I go along. You can see that one partie consists of 6 hands. We'll play one today and keep score as well. That way you can watch and see how scoring is done. So we'll need a pencil and a pack of cards. Let's look at these ones. Tarot français, des fleurs. Now a tarot deck, or a tarot nouveau, or sometimes called the tarot bourgeois, was made of 78 cards. Here we have the 78 French cards. They're quite long, very nice to hold on to, and as it's a new deck, it's a little slippery, so very nice. There's also the rules for the game of tarot, which is also a fun game, but we're going to play Piquet, which means that we only need the 7 through the king plus the ace. I think I've got them upside down there. Jeu de tarot. And there, the value of the cards for the game of tarot. Set those aside. We'll use those. Nouveau flowers. But we're going to use the Jack or the Chevalier. So we have 4 Chevalier. And we're not going to use him. We're going to use 4 queens. And 4 kings. And no joker, or as it so politely says, fool, the fool. Now if you wanted to use these ones for the Jack, you could. We're going to use the ones with the horse because they're pretty and I like them. Now we're going to shuffle these. So you can see it's quite a small deck. I'm very flitty when I shuffle cards because I don't like to bend them too much, and I also don't like to mar the edges, so it turns out to be a little bit messy, but at least the cards stay looking fairly decent and easy to play with. Just going to give it a few more shuffles. Alright, so we're going to deal 12 each, and I'll do that face up. And the rest are our trading cards. Now these actually, I think I'm going to shuffle and do them so we can't see them, just to demonstrate. One pile will have 3, the other pile will have 5. Now the person who dealt, which was me, is the younger hand, and the person who received the deal is the elder hand, which means you get first pick of trading. So let's see what kind of a hand we have. And remember, the ace is high in this game. So we have a very good set there of spades. And we have 3 diamonds. A few nice hearts. And only 1 club. So as the elder hand, you can decide what you would like to trade. You can trade up to 5 cards, but you have to take them from the top. So as you only have 1 club, you can trade that one. The 7 and 8 do very little there, so we can trade those. Here you have a run or a sequence here, and you're missing the king. It's possible if you trade something you will get the king. If not, it's up to you whether you want to keep the queen to draw out the king with the ace, gives us the king, the ace of clubs, and the 9 of diamonds. So far, a very nice hand. The other thing is you get to look at these cards. 7 of diamonds and jack of clubs, and those go on top of the cards that I will exchange. So you will at least know, if I exchange 2, what are in my hand. Let's look at my hand. I'm allowed to exchange as many cards that are here, which are 5, or up to 5. So I'm going to leave that one out. And that one, I have a sequence of 3 of clubs, and this one I'm going to exchange. I have a sequence of spades, which are quite low. Only 2 diamonds, but I'm going to keep the 8 because the king always needs a buddy if he's by himself. And I have a sequence of hearts. So what I'm going to do is keep the hearts and take a chance exchanging 4 cards. So I get the top 4 and the mystery card, nobody knows. So I've come away with an extra diamond plus the ace. Try and keep these, as well as a club and a spade. Alright. Now what we do for declarations gives us probably most of our scoring. The elder hand begins with declarations. So player A will start by declaring point. This means how many cards you have of the same suit. You have 4 diamonds and 4 spades and only 3 hearts and just 1 club. So you are able to declare a point of 4. Now you don't have to pick which suit you're going to use, but you would like to pick the one with the highest cards in it. So you've got an ace here, which is worth 11 points, and 2 face cards worth 10 points each. The number cards are worth their face value. So this is probably the suit you want to go with. But you don't have to declare what it is, you just say, I have a point of 4. It's up to me to match or beat that. I only have 1 club and 1 spade. Wow. Look what I've done. I've got 4 spades. 4 clubs. 1 spade, 3 hearts. So I, too, have 4 of a suit. 4 spades, 4 diamonds. And my highest one would probably be this suit. So I'm going to counter your bid of 4 because I've got point of 4 as well. So I will say how much. So you have 10, 20, 30, 41. You'll say 41. Whereas I have 39. So you get the point of 4, which means you get 4 points and player B gets nothing. The next declaration is the sequence. Here you have a sequence of 3, another sequence of 3 in hearts, and a sequence of 4 in diamonds. So you want to declare your longest sequence. So you will say, I have a sequence of 4. And what can I do to counter that? I have a sequence of 3 in hearts. I have no sequence in diamonds because it has to be 3 or more. But I have a sequence of 4 in clubs. So what I will do is say how high, because my sequence ends with a queen. But your sequence ends with a queen as well, which means we both get the sequence. So we have a sequence of 4 and a sequence of 4. The next declaration, which is always your privilege as elder hand, will be sets. So a set, you have 3 queens, which is a trio, and that is all of your sets because there are only 2 kings. 3 aces, how did we miss that? So the highest one would be the one to go with, 3 aces. So you can declare 3 aces, a trio, tierce. And I have nothing to counter that 3 aces. I have 3 jacks. But that will not beat 3 aces. So you get 3 aces. So that will be 3. You also can declare your other sets now, which are 3 kings. That's another 3. And 3 queens, another 3. So you have 9 points. And because you won the declaration, I can't declare my other 3 things. So now we start with our play. I'm going to set these cards up in rows, and we can play the tricks. Hopefully we can make sure they're all visible there. Alright. So each trick that you play or take will give you 1 point. So we'll probably start with your longest suit, which will be your spades. So you'll say 1. I can only play my single jack of spades or chevalier, so that 1 goes to you. Now it's up to you again. 2. I have no spades left, so I will have to give away something. I'll pick from my lowest. 3. 4. And continue on 5. 6. 7. just got diamonds left. You know I must at least have the king and ace, or at least one of them. So we'll go 9, and I will take that. So for me that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and because it's the last trick I'm taking 5. So you've scored 9 and I've scored 5. Now peak is a scoring system where if you have scored 30 points prior to trick taking without me scoring anything, you get plus 60. But that didn't happen because I scored on declarations as well. Ray peak is if you might not have scored 30 there, but you scored 30 before I scored anything, including the first 7 tricks. So you get a 30 extra points. But that didn't happen either because I scored that 4. So I have a total of 9. And you have a total of 26. There we are. And we bring that down. So you have won the first hand of our Piquet partie. If you enjoyed this little game, please leave a comment, or if you have any questions or requests or any further comments, I love to hear from you. We will be playing more Piquet because it's such a delightful game for de-stressing. And as our author of Piquet says, it is a kind of diversion so sweet and pleasing as that it makes the hours slide away. Be good to yourself.